Hello everyone, I hope you're all doing very well today. The name is Harry Cruz and today we're going to be doing part 2 of the dreaded book, The Forest of Doom. I hope you're all prepared, got your drinks ready, time to just relax. I'll read for the entries and we'll continue our adventure, see how far we get through the first playthrough. So without further ado, let's continue The Forest of Doom. Let's have a look where we last left off. So, in our backpack, as you can see, our character Lord Cruz, stamina max of 20, and skill and luck are both at max capacity as well, with 12 on each. Fantastic stats for us. We've also got above average stamina. 10 provisions, we've got all of our provisions, which gives us 4 stamina per provision we eat. We can use this in all situations instead of combat. We've got a potion of fortune, we've got a sword of course. We've got obviously backpack, potion of anti-poison, rod of water finding, which are the items that we bought from Yostroma at the start of the part 1 of the Forest of Doom. Holy water, books of leaping, potion of stillness, leather armor, of course we already had, a potion of plant control, rope of climbing, the map of Darkwood Forest we had as well from the late dwarf as well, armband of strength, and 4 nose filters, headband of concentration, a boar gold nose ring, and a net of entanglement. We also have the knowledge of there are 2 goblins that have 2 parts of the warhammer that we're trying to claim for the town of the dwarfs in the north. So split into 2 parts, and goblins have those parts. We've got to find the hammer and take it to Gillibrun, and a snared man is looking for a brother in the south, which we spoke to last time. We released him from a rabbit trap, and he actually stole our gold. Luckily though, we only had 1 gold piece, so I don't think it matters too much, but it just goes to show that even a humanoid might not be a trustworthy one. So without further ado, we're going to continue on. Walking north, you soon arrive at a junction in the path. You may either continue north, go west, or go east. At the moment we've been continuing to go left. What I quite like to do in these books is I like to go in one direction initially just to see if we can go as far as we can go left. I reckon we continue going west to see what happens. So let's go west. Ahead of you, you see that the path ends at the door of a large hut made of dried mud. It has a domed roof and a single window. You peer through the window and see a large man with dark skin sitting at a table in the middle of the hut. He is bare-chested and is flexing the muscles of his arms, as you can see here. Grab the muscular fella. If you wish to enter this hut, turn to 209. If you'd rather return to the junction in the path, turn to 349. So he's sitting at a table in the middle of a hut, bare-chested and flexing muscles of his arms. Maybe it's like an arm wrestling competition or something or other. But we have got good skill, so it might be worth us doing. Let's have a look at entering the hut, shall we? I was actually right. As you enter the hut, the big man smiles. He looks pleased to see you and starts to speak in a deep voice.
Welcome, stranger. My name is Quinn, and I earn my living by my arms. Would you care for a little wager, perhaps some arm wrestling?
If you wish to accept the challenge, turn to 28. If you wish to decline his offer, you politely refuse and return to the junction in the path. Let's accept the challenge, come on. We gotta do this. We're a hero, yeah? Come on. If you possess an armband of strength, we do indeed. 52. Quinn explains that he will wager some dust of levitation against an item of coins to the value of 10 gold pieces. As you sit down to the table opposite him, you deftly slip the armband of strength onto your own arm. You put your elbow onto the table and lock hands with him. His grip is like an iron jaw and his dark eyes look confident. His biceps bulge and he gives you the signal for the contest to begin. You start to push his arm down and you are amazed at your own strength. Sweat breaks out on his forehead and you can see the disbelief and pain on his face. You push harder and force his arm onto the table in defeat. So that armband was very useful, wasn't it? Quinn stands up and walks silently to a wooden chest at the back of the hut. He lifts the lid and pulls out a small glass phial. He hands it to you and walks back to the table, where he slumps in his chair looking thoroughly dejected. The dust in the fire sparkles in the light, and you put it in your backpack and leave the hut. Outside, you walk back to the junction in the path. Well, that was handy. That's great. So we got an item from that going west. So we can either go back north or east, I believe. So that's great. So we've gone as west as we can go, at least from the first entry. So that's excellent. So we can turn to 349. I feel sorry for this guy, Quinn, you know. He's probably, you know, he's done pretty well for himself, obviously, clearly, because he's still there, making and earning and stuff, and we just come and just defeat him like that. It just seems a bit sad, really. Maybe he should get another profession too, or something or other. You arrive back at the crossroads, ignoring the way south. Back to the forest, you may go north, or you may continue east. North or east? I reckon east, not north. Walking along the path, you notice marks in the ground made by the hooves heading east. You soon arrive at another junction in the path. The hooves marked led south back to the forest, so you decide to head north. Okay. So we go north instead of east then. So the east track just basically made us loop round south. Okay. In the distance to the right of the path, you see large birds circling in the sky. As you get closer, you recognise them as vultures. If you wish to step off the path to see what the vultures are interested in, turn to 384. Or if you wish to ignore the vultures and continue walking north, turn to 394. Okay, so we've got vultures circling in the sky. Well, normally that means something decaying or some carrion is over there. Clearly. Why else would the vultures be there in the first place, you know? I'm curious. Let's have a look, shall we? Ahead in the grasses, you hear a low moan. You look up to see vultures patiently waiting overhead. You take a few more steps and you see the ugly sight of a huge man with muscles like knotted iron, staked out to the ground. His arms and legs are tied to 4 large wooden pegs, driven deep into the ground. The man is naked except for a small loincloth, and his skin is badly blistered from the sun. His face and chest show blooded signs of cruel torture. His captors will not have gained the information they sought from him because he is, in fact, a barbarian. Yeah, not very nice. If you wish to cut him free, turn to 128. If you want to leave him in agony and return to the path to head north, turn to 394. Well, if they haven't gained any information from, like, torture, then I really don't think that he's going to give us any if we release him, to be honest. That's kind of my gut on this, in this instinct. I know it's quite a sad thing to kind of say, because we're kind of inclined to help, but if they've stripped him to almost nakedness and he's in the hot, like, heat, you know, his captors will not have gained the information they sought from him because he's a barbarian, which makes me think he ain't going to give us much anyway. So I think we're actually going to leave him. I think we would have had to fight him, to be honest, if he got up, probably mad from the heat, I expect. Gradually, the grass around you becomes shorter as the ground gently starts to rise. Ahead, you can hear the sound of flowing water. Soon you reach the bank of a slow-flowing river. The river is very shallow and stepping stones cross it from the bar bank where the path continues north into the distance. Will you cross the river by the stepping stones, turn to 66, wade through the shallow water across the river, turn to 186, and that's the only 2 options. So we can either cross the river or wade through the river. It's very shallow. Just very much depends, doesn't it? Is there crocodiles in there? Let's try the stepping stones. You step carefully along the slippery stones to the other side of the river. You see that the path continues north into the hills, but as it's getting dark, you decide to make camp for the night under a large solitary tree to the right of the path. You build a large fire and settle down to sleep with your sword by your side, under 325. Now, if you recall, the river, right, is about halfway. It just depends if the river itself is a very shallow one, which wasn't on the map very detailedly, or it's the river that crosses the entire forest, like the halfway point. Okay, you have been asleep for about an hour when the soft noise of fluttering wings wakes you up. You sit up and grab your sword, and in the light of the full moon you see 3 large shapes flying towards you. They look like large bats, but as they swoop in close, you see the unmistakable fangs of vampire bats. We have no garlic buds, so I think we're going to have to try and face them on. You stand with your back to the tree and prepare to fight the vampire bats. You fight them one at a time as they swoop down towards you. So let's fight these guys. So, the first one has 5 skill and 5 stamina, quite weak in comparison to us, so we should be able to dispatch them easily. Especially with the 2 ones that they've just rolled. Okay. 1 hit, 2nd hit, another one should do it. Right, the second one, slightly better skill, but still very weak. Okay, that's 18, another hit there. Okay. Second one's defeated, now the third one. Very high stamina this one. Probably had a bit more food and prey from the others. Despite the higher roll that the bat had, we still hit it. So we rolled a max of 12 there, so that's excellent, so they can't beat that at all. Rolled a 7, they rolled a 6, so in total we still again defeat them. And I think we've just defeated the bats without even a scratch to ourselves. See, that's the advantage of high skill, you see, because then even with low stamina, you still are very strong as a warrior. So we do indeed win against the vampire bats. You settle down to sleep again, but have a restless night. In the morning you wake early, you collect your belongings and set off north along the path. Okay, I reckon we should save there. The ground is quite steep as the path ends its way into the hills. By the time you reach the top, the sun is quite hot. All around in the distance you see the green circle of Darkwood Forest. Mist still hangs in the tall grasses behind you, but ahead of you see a valley floor bathed in sunlight. All is quiet. As you start down the far side of the hill, you see a junction in the path. You may either continue north down the hill, or you may head west along the new branch. Let's go west, shall we? New branch? Yeah, let's go west. See where it goes. The path leads along the ridge of a hill, ends at another junction. You see that the way south leads back to the river, so you decide to head north again. Okay. The path runs through a narrow gorge between 2 hills. You feel vulnerable and draw your sword, expecting to be ambushed at any moment. Unfortunately, because you are concentrating on watching the sides of the gorge, you do not see the small patch of leaves and branches on the path ahead. Your foot goes right through the thin covering of a trap, and you plunge 4 meters to the bottom of a rocky pit. To add to your misfortune, a wooden stake with a sharp tip points out of the centre of the pit. Let's test our luck then. So we have to basically, to test your luck system, we have to roll 2 dice, and we have to either hit or go below our luck score. But because we've got a luck of 12, as you can see here, we are going to be lucky by default. And I don't think you can get any luckier than a 2. So we are indeed lucky. And as you can see, the luck score goes down when we've used a luck in this instance. So if we did roll a 12 in this case, we would have been unlucky. You manage to avoid landing on the wooden stake but fall heavily on the floor, losing 2 stamina points in the process. We are indeed still alive. Did you possess boots of leaping? If you do, turn 2 to 8, which we do. The pit is circular with smooth sides, and you are weak from your fall. You reach into your backpack and pull out the brown leather boots. They are very light on your feet. You crouch down, and in one mighty leap, you are out of the pit. You dust yourself down and continue your walk north down the gorge. Now, I wonder what would have happened had we not had those boots in this case. Would we have been stuck down there, or would we have had to done something else? An interesting thought. Continuing down the gorge, you see a handle of a sword sticking from the large rock by the side of the path. If you wish to try and pull the sword free from the rock, turn to 182, or if you wish to continue walking down the gorge, turn to 334. Now to me, this is too much of a mythical opportunity. I mean, it's sword and a stone, isn't it? So it makes you wonder if maybe it's some sort of like Excalibur reference. I think that's the name of the sword. So let's try and pull out the sword, shall we? You take hold of the sword and place your foot against the rock, firming your stance before you begin to pull. Roll 2 dice. If the number rolled is equal to or less than your current skill score, the sword slowly slides out of the rock. If the number rolled is greater than your skill score, the sword will not move, you tire and are forced to give up. Continue north down the gorge. So we definitely pass the skill check, so we do in fact get the sword. The sword is magnificent and was obviously made by a master craftsman. It feels powerful in your hand. You gain 2 points on the top of your current skill score when using the enchanted sword. We're going to be unstoppable, guys, in the skill situation then. Cutting your new weapon through the air, you set off north down the gorge. So we have now got a ridiculous skill level of 14. Between the hills, you see the flat green valley floor stretching out ahead and beyond a sinister wall of trees. Darkwood Forest. On the other side of the trees lies Stonebridge, your journey's end. Arriving on the valley floor, the path ends at a junction. Okay, so between the hills you see a flat green valley floor stretching out beyond the sinister wall of Darkwood Forest. Okay, so it looks as though that Darkwood Forest is properly... We're in the centre of it now, so I reckon we should head west again. The path makes a sudden turn to the right and heads north along the valley floor. To the left of the path you see a large pond with a small wooden hut with a thatched roof by its edge. If you want to investigate this hut, turn to 324. If you wish to ignore the hut and continue along the path, turn to 149. What would you do in this case? I mean, you're in Darkwood Forest and there's a hut in the middle of the trees. I'd investigate for sure. Ooh, options. You walk around to the front of the hut and see a large blue vase on a small porch. There is nobody about. You open the door of the hut, but there is nobody inside. The hut is also devoid of any furniture or objects. You walk outside again and investigate the blue vase. You look inside the hut, despite the sunlight, are unable to see beyond the rim. The vase is filled with an eerie blackness. You shake it and hear a rattling sound. So do we drop the vase to the ground, put your hand inside the vase, or ignore the vase and return to the path and head north? So this vase clearly is something important. Why was it left in an abandoned hut, for one thing? So we actually can't even see. The vase is filled with an eerie blackness. Is it trapped in there? Is there some sort of entity trapped in the vase? Maybe it's like an obscurement to basically block you from gaining an item, perhaps, which also might be possible. Okay, perhaps we should have a look at putting our hand in the vase. As your hand descends into the inky blackness of the vase, it is gripped by an intense pain. First it feels as if it's being crushed, and then it feels as if it's on fire. If you wish to pull your hand out of the vase, turn to 185, or if you wish to feel around to find out what's inside the vase, turn to 341. This makes me think, that there is obviously some sort of enchantment blocking you from getting an object, which is probably of some importance. So let's continue. The pain in your hand becomes almost unbearable, but you still retain feeling in it. At the bottom of the vase, your hand comes into contact with several objects. You grasp and pull your hand quickly out of the vase. You are surprised to see no mark or sign of injury on your hand. How about that? You examine your treasure and find 5 gold pieces, a dragon's tooth, an interesting piece of a painted canvas, and a glass vial containing a potion of strength, which will restore 5 stamina points whenever you decide to drink it. You gain 1 luck point, brilliant, we're back to 12 now, and return to the path to head north. Great. I predicted that quite well. So we're back at 12 luck. We've got 14 skill, which is unheard of, and 18 out of 20 stamina. So a little bit, got a little bit of a knock, kink in the armor, but nothing too. I reckon we should save there. That's a good find. As you walk across the valley, you see the dark green wall of Darkwood Forest looming before you. The path leads directly into the thick undergrowth, and soon you are walking between tall, dark trees and thorny bushes. It is dark and quiet. The path forks. If you wish to walk east, turn to 130, or if you rather continue north, turn to 306. Okay, I reckon we should go north. Amidst the trees to the left of the path, you see a small stone building covered with ivy and moss. If you wish to examine the building, turn to 391. If you wish to carry on north along the path, turn to 112. Let's examine this building. Oh, okay. The building measures only 3 meters by 3 meters and has no windows. The door is made of stone and looks very solid. There is no handle and there does not appear to be another way inside this building. Then you notice a tiny keyhole in the stone door. Do you possess a silver key? Which we don't. You may either charge the door down, or you may return to the path and head north. While we're here, let's charge the door down. We've got an armband of strength, haven't we? You step back and then charge at the door. Let's test our luck. Which, of course, because we got 12, we are in fact lucky. So the door does fly open. Inside you see stone stairs leading down from the door into the gloomy depths. You cannot see a thing down the stairs. If you wish to descend the stairs, ooh, this is quite scary, or if you wish to leave the building, return to the path and head north, turn to 112. It's one of those situations where you're alone in the forest, and then you break into a room, and then you've got stairs leading down to complete blackness. I think all of us would be at least a little bit intimidated by going down these stairs, unless you knew what was down here. So, thoughts. I think because we got the items we need, like the holy vial, because remember, like in the depths of the underground, you always presume undead, right? We've got holy water, we've got an enchanted sword, which is good against undead creatures, so we should be okay. And we've got the items as well in our backpack, so I reckon we should descend the stairs and see what happens. It may be a goblin there, for all we know, one of the parts of the hammer. Very unusual tomb here. You step carefully down the stone stairs, feeling your way as you go. Slowly your eyes becomes accustomed to the dark and you begin to make out shapes at the bottom of the stairs. You are standing in a small square room with a low ceiling. The floor is thick with dust and there are cobwebs everywhere. In the middle of the room there is what appears to be a large stone box, measuring approximately 2 meters by 1 meter. The top of it is a great stone slab. Along one of the rough stone walls, you find a small alcove with a candle in it. You may light the candle, or you may walk back up the stairs and return to the path and head north. Let's light the candle, we're down here, aren't we? The light from the candle casts eerie shadows around the room. In the yellow light, you see the face of an old man carved into the stone slab top of the box. Then you notice the leg of a skeleton protruding from the shadows in the far corner of the room. Ooh. You walk over to the skeleton to inspect it. The skeleton is small, and the skull has sharp, protruding teeth. It could be the skeleton of either a goblin or an orc, so it could even be a goblin. You walk over to the stone box. The slab on the top looks as though it could be removed. If you wish to try and lift the stone slab, turn to 95, or if you wish to ignore the slab and return to the path and head north into 112. Well, it's a classic trap, isn't it? If we remove the slab, I bet you that skeleton's going to become alive, isn't it? But there's going to be something in that, in the tomb, I presume, that may assist us. So let's lift the stone slab and see what happens. You try with all your might to move the stone slab, but it will not budge. Do you have any dust and levitation? Which we actually do from that poor wrestler guy. So let's use it. You take from your backpack the glass vial containing the sparkling dust and sprinkle it over the stone slab. Slowly the stone slab starts to rise into the air. You peer into the box and are horrified to see a rotting corpse lying there. ragged clothes covered in a skeletal body with loose flesh hanging from it. You have lifted the lid of a coffin containing some cursed undead creature and jump back in horror as you see its eyes flick open. You are in a crypt made foul by some unknown follower of darkness. Slowly the creature rises out of its coffin and towards you with outstretched arms. Do you possess any holy water? Thank goodness we bought some. You reach into your backpack and pull out the small bottle of holy water. Quickly removing the cork, you throw the water at the advancing ghoul. Thick smoke rises into the air from the burn marks made by the holy water on the putrid flesh of the ghoul. The ghoul appears to be in great pain, but though its wide open mouth, no sound is heard. It crawls into a corner of the room, desperate to escape your godly weapon. You walk over to the coffin and look inside. You are overjoyed to see, as well as 25 gold pieces, an object that the ghoul was using as a headrest. A bronze hammerhead with the letter G inscribed into it. Brilliant. So we've got the headrest. You happily put your findings into your backpack and walk back up the stairs to leave the crypt and return to the path to head north. Excellent. So we've got the headrest. We just need the handle now. So, we know now where one of the pieces are of the hammer. It's in this tomb. And because we've got holy water and dust of levitation, we know that that's an important route to get to this point. So we know that the route we took was quite a good one. Okay. The path presses on northwards through the dense trees and it makes a sudden turn to the right and heads east. The path is so overgrown in places that you have to use your sword to cut through it. Your walk east is long and tiring. At last you reach a junction in the path. Looking at Big Leg's map, rest in peace Big Leg, you decide to head north again in the direction of Stonebridge and ignore the narrow path continuing east. Now I'm hoping now that we're going to find the second piece soon, because I think we're kind of getting to the point where we're nearing the end of the forest borders. So fingers crossed, but at least we've got the second piece. If we miss the first piece, that's absolutely fine. We'll just have to take a slightly different route next time. But that's okay, because I'm happy we found one of the pieces on this first playthrough, so that's always something good to consider. Okay, but I think I'm actually going to leave it here, guys, for today, alright? But I hope you've enjoyed part 2 of the Forest of Doom. So please like and subscribe. It would really, really help the channel growth, and you know, I'm hoping you're enjoying the video content too. Feel free to leave a comment down below. I love to hear what you're saying, or any suggestions. Just throw them at me and I'll see what I can do to improve this content for you guys, alright? But take care, have a lovely rest of your day, and I hope you've enjoyed this read through of the book. But yeah, take care of yourself, and I'll speak to you all soon. Take care, bye.